I also want to add one other source of input we've had. I mentioned that we've been doing text polling, and one of the questions that we asked, and that we actually had over almost 80 respondents, we asked, I'd like to see a Logan Square with more, ... And the top answer we got, the majority answer we got was more grocery stores, actually, and that was followed closely by affordable housing and open space. So that's another angle into information from folks who maybe couldn't be here tonight. So as I mentioned, we will be sure to transcribe everything else that you talked about. One of the first things I'll do at meeting 2 is to tell you kind of what was talked about at each of the tables in regards to the other questions, and let you know kind of the gist of those conversations. We will also have more tables, more chairs, and more food. And also, we do want to make sure to let your Spanish-speaking friends know that we do have interpreters available, and we have headsets for folks who need them. So please spread the word on that. I will turn it over to my colleague Yona, who will walk us through the keypad polling. So just as a reminder, if you don't have the little thing that looks like a calculator in front of you, please use your note card and just number the questions. Question 1 with a letter, question 2 with a letter, and so on, and we will enter it manually. For meeting 2, we will also see, one of our friends here from CMAP, we'll see if we can borrow some more of these. They're a little more expensive than they look, so that's why we only have 100 that we own, but we'll see if we can get some more so that we can do a better job next time. Thanks.
All right, so let's hope that this works. If it doesn't, don't blame us. Let's try to move forward. So basically everybody has that little keypad in front of them, and we're going to ask you questions, and on your keypad you'll see letters, just like a remote control or a telephone. You're just going to press the letter, obviously, based on your answer to the question that you present on the screen. Now, if you're not entirely sure of your answer, that's okay, but try to give your best sense of what you think your vision for the neighborhood or your demographics or any of those things are. Now on some of these questions, and I'll tell you when it happens, you'll be able to answer more than one possible answer, okay? So when that happens, we'll go over it again, but basically you hit multiple keys to indicate the answer. So let's go ahead and start out with the first one. All right, so the first question is, how did you hear about these meetings? A, Alderman's newsletter. B, other newsletter. C, word of mouth. D, flyer or postcard. E, social media. And F, news. So the polls are open, so press your button when you can. Looks like we are getting lots of responses. All right, I'll give you 5 more seconds. Okay, go on. All right, so it looks like 43% of you got information about this meeting through word of mouth, which is awesome. We're really excited about that. Looks like others got it from other newsletters, flyer postcards, social media, so that's fantastic. If there are other ways you think we can reach out to people, please let one of us know. We'll be glad to inform other sources or anything like that over the next week.
The public library branch, the Logan Square Public Library branch, which is a natural tourist gathering center.
Great, we'll leave some note cards there. All right. Right. So the point was that we should reach out to community organizations. I should say that working with Alderman Cologne and others, we have reached out to a number of local organizations, including LSNA and a number of others. And if there are some that you think that we should contact, please tell me afterwards, and we will gladly contact them. Thank you. All right. So the next question is, who is in the room? A, I live here. B, I work here. C, I live and work here. D, none of the above, I just like it here. And if you don't like it here, you can't answer. All right, 5 more seconds. All right, 6 of you haven't answered, so I assume you don't like Logan Square? All right, close the polls. All right, looks like we have a pretty strong representation of people who live here, and it looks like in total, if I add those two numbers up, what do you get? You get 84% of people in this room actually live in Logan Square, which is fantastic. And another 7% just work here, so love the representation. Next question. If you live in Logan Square, do you rent or own? A, rent. B, own. C, you don't live in Logan Square. 5 more seconds. Okay, so it looks like 39% of people rent, and 46% of people own, and 15% of people don't. So that representation is a little skewed towards ownership compared to the neighborhood in general. This neighborhood has a higher percentage of people who are renters, so we'll try to reach out over the next week and get more renters to even out the representation in this room. How old are you? A, you're 18 or below. B, 19 through 30. C, 31 through 50. D, 51 through 64. And E, 65 and above.
Fiona, don't forget that there's a lot of cards you might get in the other part.
Yes, I should say that when I say these percentages, I'm not including people with cards. So when we publish this information, we will include all the information that people are writing down. So don't take these numbers as final. Thank you for making that one. So it looks like our biggest representation, over half the room, is between 31 and 50. So nice middle-aged representation. Only 4% of people are 65 or above, so we need to work. If you know people who are older in this community, we would love to get a more diverse representation at the next meeting, all right? Seasoned. Okay, how do you self-identify? Pick one or more. Now this is one of those special questions where you get to press your keypad more than once. In fact, you can press it up to 5 times. You're really, really diverse. But make sure you represent who you are. So, A, white, B, African American, C, Asian, D, Latino and or Hispanic, E, other. And if you don't feel comfortable, you can put other or not answer at all. Okay, so we have a massively white room, as you may have noticed. Now, that's not great. I think we all know that Logan Square is a pretty diverse community. So I can speak for NPC staff and tell you that we are going to do our best over the next week to make the next meeting more diverse, because only 12% of people in this room identify as Latino or Hispanic, but a majority of people who live in this neighborhood community area identify as Latino or Hispanic. So we're going to do our part. If you guys can help us reach out to more people who represent the diversity that is this neighborhood, that would really be fantastic. All right, now we're getting to more complicated questions. We're asking these questions not because we assume that these are the final answers, but rather because we want to get a general introductory sense of what people think about the sites that we're discussing and new development in the neighborhood. We're going to spend the next meeting developing specific site plans for a number of the sites that we talked about, and at that time we'll get a better sense of what people want to see specifically. But we wanted to get a general idea of what people are thinking about and get you to start thinking about these questions yourself, so when you come next week, you can have a good idea of what you're thinking might be the best plan for the future of these sites. So, the first site we're going to discuss is the Station Plaza. So I think everyone knows this plaza. It's at the intersection of Milwaukee and Kedzie. So the question is, do you want development on the Station Plaza while maintaining access to the Blue Line? A, yes, we should build on the plaza at the station entrance. B, you're neutral, you don't really care. C, no, we have enough development in the neighborhood, or you don't think there should be a building on the Station Plaza. Right, yes, we're just talking about the triangle in this question. And one thing I should say is that in the next question, we're going to ask you what types of development you would like to see. So this is development writ large, okay?
Does this include the bus lanes?
This includes the bus lanes.
Is there going to be a separate question about the parking lot?
Yeah, separate question about the parking lot.
In development, does that include green space?
Development would not include green space. Any more questions? I know this is maybe a bit confusing. First question. All right. 5 more seconds. Yeah, so again, in case you want to change your answer, you can always press again. A, yes, you want a building or development on the station plaza. B, you don't really care. C, no, you do not want a building or type of development on the station plaza. Okay. All right, so this is a pretty interesting result. Looks like 49%, or almost half, support building something on the station plaza. 13% don't care, and 37% do not think we should build on the station plaza. Okay, so that's a good result. And keep this in mind when we have a conversation next week about whether and how a development could occur. And feel free to comment with whatever opinion you have, that'd be great. All right, so now this question is also about the station plaza, and it's asking, if there were development, okay, so we're assuming at this point that there was going to be development, what type of development would it be? Now, if you don't support development at all, that's fine. We just want to get a sense of the overall community's vision for, if you had to have development, what would it be? Okay, so the answers you can pick from. And by the way, you can pick 2. Are A, housing, B, retail or food options, C, office space, D, recreation or park space, and E, community space. That is as open as we are asking. Now, we can get more into specifics about what kind of community spaces people want in the next meeting. You'll be able to have that option to discuss at your table. Oh, sorry, an example of community space is this wonderful space we have here. This is a community space. Yeah.
Does office space include the artist workspace, or is that considered working on the?
I think to be fair, artist workspace would probably fall more into the community space side, because I mean, if it were a nonprofit working as like a specifically office-based nonprofit, that might be an office space. But again, we'll discuss this in more detail next week. No, you can have 2 answers. Okay, 5 more seconds unless there are any more questions.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry. Was there a question in the back?
Yes. Does recreation or park space include like public art and a bench and a little garden area?
Yeah, that could be great. So that's a great idea, and let's bring it up next week. That would be fantastic. All right, so the things that people thought were particularly interesting for a development on this space: 29% community space, 28% recreation park space, 22% housing, and 18% retail or food options. So only 2% want to see office space. So it doesn't sound like there's much excitement about new office space in there. All right, now we're going to talk about the parking lot. Now this is a very similar series of questions to the previous one, but a bit more complicated because there is parking involved, and we're asking you whether you want development there, but also whether you want to keep the parking. So before answering, let me go through them because it can be kind of confusing, so listen very carefully, okay? Do you want development on the Emmett Street parking lot? A, yes, with no need for parking at all. Okay? B, yes, as long as some of the public parking that's currently there is preserved. C, yes, as long as there is some parking for the development itself, but not necessarily public parking. D, yes, as long as the public parking and the parking for the development is included. E, you don't care. F, no, you think it should stay as it is, a parking lot. Should I go through those again? Okay. A, yes, with no need for parking. So yes for development with no need for parking. B, yes, as long as some of the public parking is preserved. C, Yes, as long as there's parking for the development that's built. D, yes, as long as the public parking and parking for the development is provided. E, you don't care. No, we have, F, no, we have enough development. Any questions? Five more seconds. All right, so the plurality of people in the room, over a third of people support the idea of a development on the site with no parking at all. That's one option. 11% of the people in the room don't want any development. So it sounds like actually, if you think about that, 13% of people don't care or don't want parking, don't want a development, which means that 87% of people in the room actually want some development on that parking lot. Okay, so that's interesting. 18% of people think that there should be development as long as the public parking is preserved. 15% of people think there should be development as long as there's parking for the development. And 17% of people think that there should be development as long as there's parking for the development and the public parking is preserved. So an interesting mix of answers on this question. All right, so going back to a similar question we asked about the plaza, if there were development in the parking lot, which it sounds like 87% of you are interested in or in favor of, what type of development should be on the parking lot? And you have two options, again. A, housing, B, retail or food options, C, office space, D, recreation or park space, and E, community space. Five more seconds. Any questions? Okay, good. All right, so it's interesting because this response is different than the response for the plaza. So in this case, the biggest response that people wanted to see in the parking lot was housing. 31% of people wanted to see that. Then the second two responses are similar to the plaza. 26% of people want community space, 23% of people want recreation or open space, 17% of people want retail or food options, and only 3% want office space. So again, there does not seem to be much demand for office space. So, one of the, I believe this is the final question. What is your top priority for Logan Square? So, you can only pick one option. If you like one or more of these, that's fine, that's great. But we just want to get a sense of what is sort of the overwhelming demand of this neighborhood. What do people really want to see in this space? So, go through the answers. A, open space or green space. B, arts or art centers. C, affordable housing. D, restaurants or entertainment venues. E, reset. I'll keep going through it. E, grocery or market options. F, shopping or other retail. G, other. Does anybody need that repeated? Right, okay, just close it. A, open space or green space. B, arts and art centers. C, affordable housing. D, restaurant or entertainment venues. E, grocery or market options. F, shopping or other retail. G, other. So some of you at the very beginning may not have gotten your vote in, so press your clicker one more time just to make sure. It won't double count you. All right, 5 more seconds. Okay, that looks good. All right. So the large plurality of people in the room, 45% of people think the biggest need in this community is affordable housing, so that's an interesting result. Followed up by 20% open space or green space, and 14% grocery or market options. Now we had a small group, probably 3 people said other. Out of interest, would one of those people like to say what they thought was not on this list?
Something that explicitly is more a mixed use concept. You have this, that. I mean, there's an opportunity for something that's emerging several days, and that wasn't the choice.
Any other comments? Anybody felt like something was missing there?
Farmers market there.
Okay. Permanent farmers market. And I think that would go under grocery or market options, certainly. All right. So thank you so much for participating in that. When you guys come back for the meeting next week and the one in 3 weeks, don't leave yet. We will have more voting, more fun voting. And just to remind everybody, our next meeting is next Tuesday here, 6 p.m. And what we'll be doing is an exciting exercise called the block exercise, where people get to design spaces around their goals for the space. So I hope it can be exciting for everybody. Also, if you have any other issues, go to our website, metroplanet.org/LoganSquare. And make sure you sign in at the front if you didn't make it